Hello everybody and happy holidays everyone. I hope you've been having a great holiday season with your friends and family. I hope you've been having a great time. And 2019 is almost over, which means that it is time to talk about some of the best films of this year. It wasn't that easy to make this top 10 list because 2019 was a great year for films and I'm extremely happy to say that. Three things before I get into my top 10. First, this video is not going to contain any spoilers for any of the movies that I'm going to be talking about today. Second, this is obviously just my opinion. These are 10 movies that I thought were the best this year, and obviously your top 10 is going to be different. And third, since this was a great year for movies, I decided to include honorable mentions. So let's get into honorable mentions before I get into my top 10. The Farewell, a very touching family story that also explores the concept of Western versus Eastern values and lifestyle. Avengers Endgame. Although this was not a perfect movie and some may disagree with some of its choices, Avengers Endgame was still a satisfying ending for a decade-long franchise that I absolutely had fun with. Rocketman. Elton John biopic was a great mixture of drama and musical with a great strong lead performance by Taron Egerton, who I hope won't be forgotten by the Academy. And lastly, Doctor Sleep, continuation of one of my favorite films of all time, The Shining, that also expands the world of Shining, and with a great third act. And now, let's get into top 10. What a great movie by the Safdie brothers, and with a very unique plot too. This movie has kind of a chaotic energy going on, by the way. There's a lot of yelling and screaming in this movie, and I'm pretty sure Adam Sandler's throat was sore after every shot. And speaking of Adam Sandler, he gives one of the best performances of this year and gives his best performance of his entire career, in my opinion. As soon as the movie started, I completely forgot that I was watching Adam Sandler on the screen. It was just that character. He blended in with the character and I didn't see Adam Sandler. And that's the beauty of acting. The ending, however, was kind of a mixed bag for me. It was kind of amazing and unexpected at the same time, a little illogical. But overall, Uncut Gems was a very strong movie. What can I say about the Joker that hasn't already been said? This was definitely a very unique approach to this character and his origin. Joaquin Phoenix definitely knocked it out of the park with this role and he's definitely getting his Oscar. This is a dirty and grimy looking film that has Taxi Driver vibe going on, which was a perfect tone for this film. The only thing I disliked about this movie was Thomas Wayne's character. But with an insanely strong lead and some amazing secondary characters like Murray, played by Robert De Niro, this movie definitely deserved a spot on my list. Quentin Tarantino is back with his love letter to cinema and the 60s, and I'm absolutely here for it. The story of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was supposed to be a novel in the first place, but then Quentin Tarantino decided that a movie format would work better, and I'm so glad he made that choice because I had a blast watching this movie. Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt have an amazing bond in this movie and obviously are both very charismatic. There are so many great bits in this movie, one of my favorites being the one where Rick Dalton is shooting a new TV series where he's playing a villain. That bit was amazing, and there are so many other fantastic bits in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. With an amazing cast and a perfect recreation of the 60s, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won my heart, and I had a great time watching it. 2 Brad Pitt movies in a row? Well, what can I say? It was a good year for him. Going into Ad Astra, you may expect just another space movie, but this movie definitely stands out because of its complete focus on the character and his thoughts. You definitely get into Brad Pitt's character's Roy's head, and that was definitely an interesting journey. I also absolutely loved the third act and the ending and what it meant. Another way I could explain what I'm feeling about Ad Astra would be by saying that I had a spiritual experience with this movie. I don't know if you can understand or relate to what I'm saying, but sometimes you watch a movie. Sometimes, very rarely, you watch a film and you have a spiritual experience with it. No? Just me? Okay, well, Ad Astra was still a great movie. Yet another another great film by Taika Waititi. I loved his approach to Thor and Thor Ragnarok. I love Hunt for the Wilder People. I adore What We Do in the Shadows. And I loved Jojo Rabbit with all my heart. This movie is about a boy whose best friend is imaginary Adolf Hitler, who is played by Taika Waititi himself, who gives a delightful performance here, by the way. Speaking of great performances, our main character, little boy Jojo, is played by actor Roman Griffin Davis, who was perfect in this movie, and I was shocked to find out that his only film credit is this movie. Jojo Rabbit is a heartfelt, touching comedy that takes place in the harsh times of World War II. And despite of its comedic tone, this movie was serious and harsh where it needed to be. And there was actually one scene that I almost cried in. A very unique, heartfelt comedy that will always stand out and won't be easily forgotten. Jojo Rabbit was one of my favorites of this year. Toy Story franchise holds a special place in my heart, and it is my favorite animated film of all time. And I mean all three of them, because I can't just pick one favorite. Toy Story 3 felt like a perfect ending, so I was a little scared going into Toy Story 4. But this movie blew me away. Once again, a beautiful animation by Pixar, and seeing these beloved characters once again on the screen, and probably for the last time on their last adventure, was an absolute joy. Toy Story 4 definitely perfectly fits into the franchise, being a heartwarming story with some amazingly memorable, secondary, hilarious characters like Forky, Duke Kaboom, Ducky, and Bunny. Toy Story 4 managed to be a perfect ending for the franchise that we didn't think was necessary, and it was perfect ending for the Woody's character arc. Robert Eggers has become a very important name in horror after he made his 2015's The Witch, and now The Lighthouse, which in my opinion was even better. The Lighthouse is a maddening movie that feels like a Lovecraft story, and that is probably the best praise I can give to it. Robert Pattinson and William Dafoe give perfect performances here, and especially William Dafoe has some amazing monologues here, and also there is some humor here, involving fart and poop. And it works perfectly. This movie is shot on 35mm black and white film that adds to the atmosphere and definitely makes this film perfectly fit into its time period. The Lighthouse gave me exactly what I wanted from this film, and it completely satisfied my horror-loving heart. Before I talk about The Irishman, I want to say that it was extremely hard to sort my number 2 and my number 3 pick, because they're pretty much on the same level. I did end up going with what I went with, and you'll see what my number 2 pick is in a minute, but just keep in mind that my number 2 and my number 3 pick are pretty much almost on the same spot. But now let's talk about The Irishman. This movie is directed by Martin Scorsese, and that's all I need to say. But in all seriousness though, Martin Scorsese is one of the most consistent directors ever, and he's making great films after great films, and The Irishman is no different. This is a 3 hour and 30 minutes long pure cinema. Robert De Niro and Joe Pesci worked together once again, and probably for the last time, which is a very hurtful thing to say. But I also don't want to left out Al Pacino, who also gives a brilliant performance here. The Irishman is an epic gangster movie that you don't really see in cinemas anymore, and even Martin Scorsese himself stated that times for movies like this is over, it's finished, and it honestly broke my heart hearing this. Because even though there is a place in my heart for theme park movies, as Scorsese calls them, I want to see more of these original movies, more of these movies like Irishman that make you fall in love with cinema in the first place. The Irishman was yet another masterfully made Scorsese movie. As soon as I saw the 2 trailers from perspectives of both characters, Charlie and Nicole, I knew that this movie is going to be something special. This movie is about a divorce story and there is a kid in between, and this may sound like the most boring plot, but then you watch the movie and you end up in tears. And this is largely due to the fact that Noah Baumbach writes characters in a very unique way that make them feel very real. And all of this is topped with award-worthy performances by Adam Driver and Scarlett Johansson, Honestly, they were just brilliant in this movie. Other noteworthy performances here are given by Laura Dern and Ray Liotta, who both play the judge of each side. There are quite a bit of memorable, intense dialogues and monologues in this film, and some amazing visual storytelling. Overall, Noah Baumbach's marriage story made me connect with the characters so much that I teared up at the end, and this was definitely one of the best films of the year. And the best movie of 2019 is Parasite. This should not come off as a surprise to people who are subscribed to this channel or have seen my review for Parasite, which I made back in August and back then called it the best movie of 2019. And even though I've watched a lot of movies since August, nothing managed to top Parasite. Bong Joon-ho created a masterpiece that got a lot of recognition too, which I'm very happy about, and this was the highest grossing foreign film of the year. Parasite is a drama thriller that also has some humor in it, and it is a story of the difference between the lower class of people and the higher class of people, and there's so much more in this film. Put all of these elements in a bag, mix it up, and you get the best movie of 2019. I watched this movie back in August, but I still think about it. There are still certain scenes that play in my head. And a thing that I also mentioned in my review is that this is a movie that can be enjoyed by anybody. I've recommended this movie to everybody I know. Granted, I don't know that many people, but every one of them will love this movie. Parasite is a masterpiece that is not only the best film of 2019, but it is one of the best movies of this decade. So that was my top 10 favorite films of 2019, and this was a great year for cinema, and I hope that 2020 will be even better. This was also a pretty good year for my channel. Although I didn't make that many videos in the beginning of the year, I started to be more consistent towards the end, and I want to keep that up in 2020. That will be one of my biggest goals, to make as many videos as I can. Although, let me contradict myself here and say that on the month of January I won't be able to upload any videos. Maybe one, if I get a time, just a little bit of time, I will make at least one video, but I don't think it's going to be possible because I'm going to be extremely busy. January is going to be hell for me, unfortunately, but starting February, I'm going to get back on my normal schedule, and starting February month, I'm going to be consistent and make more reviews and different movie and TV show related videos for you guys. I also want to thank everybody who subscribed to this channel this year, and people who always leave comments under my videos, people who support this channel and suggest reviews for me to make, which is insane to me. It's crazy that some people ask me to make reviews on certain movies. It is amazing. I'm extremely grateful for every one of you guys. Thank you for your amazing support. So that is it for this video and 2019. I hope this year was great for you and that 2020 will be even better. So if you enjoyed this video, leave a like. If you didn't, you can leave a dislike. And if you don't want to miss my other movie and TV show related videos, subscribe to this channel. See you soon. Bye.